This is rough bushcraft, and this is knives and bladed tools. These are a few of the sort of knives that you would see if you go into any sort of camping shop or outdoors shop. You've got this first type, which is basically your sort of Rambo knife. Very, very long. Quite a, well, not overly heavy, but quite a sturdy feeling knife would probably be the best way to describe it. You can see serrations on the front of the blade here. Nice straight blade up to a nice curve. Nothing too elaborate. I've seen some that are absolutely ridiculous looking. The handle is rubberized plastic, but I don't know whether you can see there is a seam that runs all the way down. You can feel that whenever you hold the handle, and you just know it's going to give you blisters if you use it for any length of time. The blade is quite long for working with. It's alright for hacking, but for any fine work you really want to be using this length, which unfortunately here has the serrations. A lot of these knives you'll see with a removable end, removable butt, and the handle's actually hollow and contains a small survival kit. The problem with those type of knives is that the handle being hollow can break, and the tang probably is only about this long, which reduces the strength of the knife overall, but also means improvising a new handle would be rather difficult. We have this next knife, which, although a shorter blade, has got quite a curve to it. Makes it harder to work on, less predictable. Although the good thing about this is it has serrations. They're on the opposite side to the cutting blade. Serrations are good because it means you can saw through things, which is easier than cutting through them. The handle on this, as you can see, is ergonomic. It has recesses for your fingers, which does fit nice and comfortably, but if you're using the knife on a backhanded fashion, it's not very comfortable at all. A nice weight to the handle, which makes the blade seem as though it weighs nothing, and you know it's quite a strong tang through it. I wouldn't be surprised if the tang was most of the width of the handle, given the weight of it. We have this then, is quite an old knife. It's actually my dad's. Slight curve to the blade, but nothing too substantial. The handle, I'm not sure what it's made of, but it seems to me as though it might even be like a leather binding that's maybe been impregnated with something to keep it all intact. Various brass or whatever, just to give it a bit of detail. The tang you can see riveted on the bottom. Nice round simple handle, comfortable, easy to use. The knife itself very light, doesn't really tax you using it at all. One thing that you can notice a difference here, you can see this line. This is a change in angle along this line, where the blade is actually ground out of a sheet of metal basically. The blade only really starts where my thumbnail is there and progresses down to the point of the blade. On this knife, you can see it. That's just a polishing, a sharpening residue. It's not actually a change in angle. The blade from here is a continuous line all the way to the point of it, which makes it a lot easier to sharpen and a lot easier to get a lot sharper. This is a folding knife. It's a lockable folding knife. The lock's here. It's a nice wooden handled one. Very important that a folding knife this big should lock, because the last thing you want is for the blade to come around and chop your fingers off. As I say, the handle's a nice shape, nice natural wood, easy to hold. The blade itself, nice and straight, nothing overly elaborate. Quite a light knife, obviously, because it's just got a wooden handle. Problem with locking knives, folding knives, is of course that the tang doesn't go the whole way through them, so it isn't as strong as this knife, but for all the space it takes up, quite a handy thing to have as a backup. The next thing we have is an axe. You should always try and get an axe with a cover, a sheath like this that protects the head of the axe, not just from cutting through things that you don't want it to cut through, but also protects the edge on the axe. This one's quite simple to clip on and clip off. It's not an overly long axe. That's the full length of it there. You can see that I've wrapped masking tape around the handle just to give it a bit more grip. An axe isn't an overly useful tool for most things, although if you do get it sharp enough you can use it as a knife edge. I find myself using the axe more for splitting logs rather than any other application, but then again that's because I prefer to delimb trees, chop down saplings with this, which is a machete. This one is Brazilian. I find the machete not as heavy as the axe, so it's easier to wield. You don't get as tired using it. As sharp as any of those knives, really. So you can use it for gently cutting saplings, branches, things like that, or indeed taking down a small tree. The sheath for this isn't as good as I would like it to be, but it's only a canvas, and if you were to hit something with the sheath on, no doubt the machete would come straight through and cut. But those are the basic sort of knives you're going to be dealing with. You'd also have, normally I keep it in this pouch, but I actually don't have it at the moment, a small folding saw, somewhat similar to this, only slightly longer, with a large serrated blade for cutting green wood. It's a lot handier to saw through branches, etc., than it is to cut through them. So that's basically the sort of blades that you're going to be dealing with whenever you're doing any sort of bushcraft.